Yo, how's it going everybody? It's me, Arctic. Today's video, we're going to be going over a complete artifacts build guide for Thoma. Now, Thoma is basically a sub-DPS. You can think of him kind of like a pyro Xingqiu. But in this video, I will be covering the best builds for him in terms of his artifacts. Now, I'm not really going to touch up on weapons. However, I did make a weapons guide a few days back. So if you guys want to check that out, that'll be linked in a card above. But if you guys are new to the channel, remember to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 8,000 subscribers. We're making some pretty good progress. But anyway, let's get back to the video. So yeah, basically Thoma is a sub DPS. So we're going to look at some artifacts that are good with sub DPS. Most of your damage that you're going to get from him is going to be from his elemental burst, which is basically similar to Xingqiu. However, it has a shield capabilities as well. Xingqiu doesn't really have a shield per se. He has like a little hydro sword things that when they're destroyed they actually give you healing, but they don't I think they do give you damage reduction, but it's like not quite a shield if you can think of it like that. But Thoma, on the other hand, he actually has a shield, and I believe it does scale with his HP, and so we're going to look at some artifacts and some different artifact combinations that are going to potentially be good with him overall in terms of his build. Gladiators finale set is probably going to be a pretty decent set if you are running him on a two-piece set of this. However, since he is not a main DPS, he doesn't have like pyro infusion or anything. But since he doesn't have pyro infusion on his auto attacks, I wouldn't really recommend this. However, like if you are running like a C6 Bennett, you can actually get pyro infusion on your auto attacks, so it's possible to run something like this. Or actually, if you would run him with like a Chongyun, you could potentially run like Thoma main DPS with Chongyun and use like Thoma's like sub DPS to actually do like melt reactions, which I think is actually a pretty interesting concept. The next set is Wanderer's Troop. Wanderer's Troop might not actually be that bad of an idea to actually use because it does have elemental mastery, especially since Thoma is pyro, and he has options on his weapons for like stuff that works very well with like elemental mastery. Like Dragon's Bane, for example, is a very good if you are running him with like a Hydro main DPS. So basically, if you are going to be vaporizing with Thoma and using him as a main reaction type of DPS, then I think that two-piece Wanderer's Troop could actually be a pretty good option. For Flames, I wouldn't really necessarily recommend its four-piece because Thoma's elemental skill is on like a 15-second cooldown, I believe, something like that. It's a pretty long duration, similar to how like Xingqiu works. Basically, he has a long duration on the E spell and a good uptime with the elemental burst for sub DPS. But basically, 4-piece of this could still work pretty fine because you can get that vaporize and melt damage increase. But 2-piece on this was pretty good. If you pair this with like 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Wanderer, something like that, you could pair these both and make a bunch of different combinations and actually figure out which is going to be the best for your team and team comp. No, Bless Oblige is a great option if you are going for a general team play kind of build. With the elemental burst damage increased by 20%, it's pretty good. And then also increase your elemental burst increases your party members' attack by 20% for 12 seconds. This effect can't stack, but basically if you just run Thoma in a team, basically the 4-piece is going to buff your team's attack by 20%, which is a pretty good bonus right there. Alternatively, you can just run like 2-piece Noblesse and then like 2-piece Crimson Witch. I think that'll be a pretty good combo already. The Tenacity of the Millilith also has a pretty decent 2-piece, I think, especially if you are having a Staff of Homa on your Thoma. A Staff of Homa on the Thoma. Whoa, that's kind of crazy. But basically, since Thoma does scale with some HP on his shield and also like some of his supporting capabilities, I think that Tenacity of the Millilith with like Staff of Homa would actually be pretty good on Thoma. Because basically, you get 20% HP. You could pair this with like Noblesse 2-piece. You could pair this with like Crimson Witch 2-piece, Wanderer's 2-piece. Thoma really has a lot of different options that you can go with. And the 4-piece on this isn't really going to help you at all because it literally only applies for like 3 seconds and his elemental skill is on such a long cooldown, so I wouldn't really recommend 4-piece. Now, his Reminiscence set is only really good if you are going like a main DPS on-field DPS with your Thoma. Basically, it gives you some attack, and then whenever you cast your elemental skill, the character has 15 or more energy, they lose 15 energy, and normal charge and plunging attack damage is increased by 50%, which is a pretty good amount. And so what you can end up doing with this is basically using like your elemental skill at a proper time, I guess. I don't know exactly when, but if you are using like him with Chongyun, or if you're using Thoma with C6 Bennett, I don't know why you would, but it's possible. It basically unlocks his DPS potential, and you can use this set, and I think it would work actually pretty decently. And then an Emblem of Severed Fate set, I think this is probably going to be his best set just overall in general, because of how elemental energy recharge actually works with basically this attack bonus. Basically, this is like Noblesse, except you get more burst damage, so this will be basically his best in slot for burst damage. You do have to get over a little bit of a hump. You have to get over like 35% basically bonus damage, but that's not too hard to get over, because basically you have to take into account the 15% pyro damage that you could be getting if you are running like 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Crimson Witch. But basically, if you are running like something like a energy recharge main stat weapon, this starts to scale up pretty high pretty fast, and there are several pretty good options. Like Grass Cutters is a good option. That's probably his best in slot for this set. And then also like the Catch is a pretty good option as well, and he also has a new spear that's going to be coming out that is pretty good with this set as well. But that's basically it for Thoma. I will be posting more videos about Thoma in the future. Basically, I start off with the weapons guide and then the artifacts guide. But then next videos are going to be his sub DPS build guide and his DPS build guide. And then I'm going to finish it off with a complete build guide. And I actually might toss in a weapons tier list in there in the future, or like builds tier list, something like that. I don't know how much content I can make on Thoma, but if you guys keep watching this and leave a like, then yeah, I'll keep posting. It's been me, Arctic. I'll see you guys next time. Farewell.